So one thing I'm curious about is if you go to your website,
Okay.
the first thing you see is be happy.
Right.
I'm just curious on like kind of the idea behind that because I think it's kind of cool and I like and you talked a little about earlier just like that whole kind of you said sometimes it's tiring just to always be happy or always to enjoy this and that. You're kind of
Right.
getting stressed with that. So what's kind of your idea behind that? Just like um, be happy, kind of we should just enjoy ourselves.
I think because I wasn't doing either of those things, and
Mm,
it's more so projecting what you kind of want to see in the world. Almost, like your awareness to wanting to do nonprofits and work in that field and impact others. I just kind of realized that if I'm in this position, I'm not necessarily happy. Things aren't going well. And I think probably a lot of people when they first see that message think it's just like this is a positive guy just being positive. It's like it's not really that at all. It's almost the opposite. It's
hmm
that I acknowledge that I'm not most of the time and that things aren't great.
Wow.
Especially now, like the world is real hard. It's hard to be alive
Yeah.
today. It's difficult. And then like you can never escape anything with social media and everything else. There's just like a constant stream of negativity and just the world crashing down around you. And so I think it was more for a reminder almost for me. And
hmm
then I figured if I feel this way, other people probably do too. And so I made the music I needed to hear when I made We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves. And when I started my own label and went fully independent last year, that was kind of how can I expand on that, but make it feel new and fresh? And that's when Be Happy. I was like, let me simplify it. It's something
mm
that I always wanted the merchandise and the message to be separate from me as well. I think it's cool that people want to support or anyone that gets tattoos. That's super cool. Um, but I think that it's a message that stands forever, no matter what happens to me. And I
Yeah.
think it's an important reminder for some people to have. Just like, if you're going through something,
hmm
things are shitty, just know that the people that you look up to or the people that you think aren't going through those things are definitely also going through those things. And that we're all kind of
Yeah.
connected. So that's the message at the end of the day is that we're all a community, whether we forget that sometimes or not, and we're all more connected and related than we probably think. So
hmm
that's just projecting what you want to see in the world, basically.
You said you like to go running. What do you have a
Yeah.
particular playlist or particular couple artists that
It's
you
a
like?
good
What
question.
what's that music that you're bumping on that run?
I listen to a lot of, I really like jingles, so a lot of restaurant jingles. They're only 15, 30 seconds, so I put that on repeat. Um, I like to listen to ocean noises.
Really?
No, that doesn't happen.
It's
I, what if
gonna
that was
go
the case?
crazy.
I know some people that listen to podcasts and stuff, but it's like I need something with a tempo, you
Yep.
know? Um, so I don't listen to a lot of people in my genre. It's kind of on purpose, I think, because people subconsciously get influenced. Whether you realize it or not, you might take a melody or a line or a word or an idea, and I try not to do that. So my influence is not necessarily current, but there's only a few current artists that I listen to, and I run almost exclusively to their music.
Really.
Right now, St. John, I like listening.
Mm.
St. John is great for running.
Yep.
So,
I like St. John.
um, Luke Christopher last year was really big for me. I ran
No
to a lot of.
way.
Luke Christopher is one of my favorite artists.
He.
Um,
I'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, keep going.
but yeah, Luke was actually going to be on my love song at one point in time. I was on We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves. There's a point because like he follows me on social media and stuff, and I talked to him a lot earlier on in my career, and he's kind of a private dude too. But
Yes.
he was supposed to be on Love, and then Packy ended up getting on it because I didn't get it back from Luke in time. But I haven't spoken to him in a while. But yeah, big fan of Luke. I think I'm drawn to people that kind of produce and do all
hmm
aspects of their music themselves because it's what I enjoy doing. So I think that's generally who I enjoy
hmm
listening to as well. John Bellion's amazing, but
Yeah.
when I first people started to actually hear my music, my whole MO was don't collaborate with anybody.
Really.
Like I think it's just a pride thing. It's like, nah, I don't need you. And
hmm
I think and I wish that I didn't have that mentality so much early on in my career. Cause now I'm just like I just wanna like however I feel like I can make a song better, and it doesn't even matter if I'm on it. Like if I can give you input or hang out in the room or be like, nah, do this or that. I
hmm
really like that aspect now, but I wish I didn't reject that so much in the beginning because that is honestly the way to excel. I know, honestly, bro, Justin Stone is a really good friend of mine, and his collaboration, and he still does this today.
Mm-hmm.
He's gained a lot of success, and he is still the most giving person I
Mm-hmm.
probably ever met in the industry. Where he's willing, like he helped facilitate Charisma on my last tour. Like
Mm.
he's so responsible, and he's always been that person since the very beginning. He reached out to collaborate super early on in his career, and
Mm.
at the time I was just like, I was in that space where I was like, I don't want to work with anybody, and I
Mm.
hate that I was like that. He did it so correctly, bro. So I'm
Mm.
glad that Beta's doing that. I don't even know if that he goes by PN whatever, but I'm glad that he's collaborating. He's doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, and Justin, it's funny you say that about him just like being generous because I remember a tweet from Adrian Stresso a couple weeks
Adrian's
ago.
awesome too.
Yeah, dude, he's legit. He tweeted, "There's not as many like genuine people in this industry
Yeah.
as Justin Stone," and I thought that was kind of cool
He's literally
uh,
the most
to
genuine
hear
person.
that too. So yeah, bro,
I
maybe
gotta.
someday
I just
I
did a
can interview
remix
him.
on one of his songs, and like he didn't have. First off, he didn't have to do that at all, you know. But I just reached out like, this is dope. I would remix this, and so he sends me the song, and he's like, keep the royalties. That's the type of
Wow.
person he is. So it's
Hmm.
just like he doesn't care. It's the anytime he thinks he can help or extend some sort of hand or at least
Hmm.
guide or and I'm older than this dude. Like it should be a reverse type situation, but he's been
Hmm.
so incredibly helpful.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's I don't have enough good things to say about him. He's a really
Yeah.
good person. So he's gonna get all the success he ever pursues in life. He's definitely gonna achieve
Yeah.
it.
My speaking of, I don't know, the running playlists, I actually ran yesterday,
Right.
and talk if you could talk me through, or I think it could have came from a different song, but just the producing of all I'm all right, I'm good, dude. That
Yeah.
like that type of beat, and just like not just the beat, the whole song, but
Right.
like just that intro, those first 10 seconds. There's songs, and you probably obviously know too, but there's just those songs that are just like hit you and they're just mesmerizing. Whether it's like a feeling down
Right.
the back of your spine, whether it's like a chill moment, a hype
Yeah.
moment, whatever it is, and that one just like that one does it for me. I think it is just the sound on it is amazing. Where did that kind of come from?
Because the way I start most of my songs, especially the ones I'm producing, is if I can't make a really good melody or vibe to what you're saying that first 10 seconds, I don't finish a song. So I write the entire song before everything else gets added. I think with that song, I'd have to hear it again, but I was flipping vocal samples a lot. I'd have to hear it. Hold on
Hmm.
to remember because I haven't. I got my
Yeah,
camera. I got my camera blocking my Mac down here. Hold on.
you're good. You can go ahead and play it.
I'd have to hear
It
the
was
first
like
10 seconds.
I was like a really high pitched like singing.
Oh yeah, the keys, and then that. So I did flip that vocal sample, and then the keys.
So cool, bro.
So all those are different vocal samples. They do not sound like that normally. I chopped it up, what I thought was the best parts. When I was
Mhm.
working through this kit, they were not in that pitch originally. I changed the octave. I remember that. I had the main keys, and I came up with the entire song just to that.
Hmm.
Um, and then I like really deep sub bass lines, like the ones you don't necessarily hear if you're listening to like an iPad or a phone, but when you put on headphones, you can actually appreciate.
Yep.
Good drum patterns. I felt like that beat could breathe, where the vocals could kind of do all the
Oh
work.
yeah.
I mean, the sample and everything else that I flipped already was doing most of the work. I just
Mhm.
had to basically not fuck it up and have like a
Yeah.
good melody, you know?
Hmm.
Those are the songs that come the easiest, and I think they're the best songs. Russ is basically his entire formula and why he's had so much success is that he takes his production is not complicated at all. He's actually one of probably the simplest producers, and I don't mean that as an insult. That's a compliment because he takes 5 or 6 things. He's not going to oversaturate it. Good drum pattern, good bass line, flips a sample. He likes to reverse things a lot. I also like
Yeah.
that. But he keeps it relatively simple so that the vocals can breathe. So really good melodies can shine through. Um, Rick Rubin does that with a lot of
Yep.
music, where he'd be like, "Oh, you have a bunch of shit, but do you need all of it? I'm gonna take the 5 or 6 best parts, and that should be the song. And if you can't make a good song of that, it's not a good song. You're overcompensating."
Mm.
So I think you brought up a really good example of a song that didn't need much else, and I'm glad that that was earlier on when I got back into production. So it's almost like I didn't know what else to do at that time. and
Mm.
that was a good thing because I probably would have done more harm than good. It wouldn't have been I'm
Yeah.
worried I'm good anymore. It would have been I'm stressed out. I ruined the song. I'm worried. Be the new
Mhm.
title.
So we're talking about producing and stuff, and one thing I was watching the podcast that you did with Packy, where you kind of talked about when you ended up leaving the Spectators Collective,
Mm,
and one of the main reasons was you kind of wanted to kind of focus on your own craft and kind of do more of the producing yourself,
yeah,
and kind of learn that, and it felt like you wasn't as original. So since then, how has
right.
that kind of process been, where you've kind of did it on your own and figure out all the producing and the creativeness and the mixing and all that? How's that kind of been? Do you think it was the right decision looking at it now?
I think what's important is that you don't know what's missing or what to look for until you're forced to find out. And so I put myself in a position to really, because here's the thing, this is what most producers are doing, and there's nothing wrong with it. You're going to SoundClick, you're going to find these producers online, you're leasing beats. That's why a lot of people be like, oh, I heard this beat somewhere else. So and so took your song. It's like, no, so and so didn't take that song. They just leased the same beat for $50 from that producer. And
Mm,
what happens when you start doing that too much is that it doesn't feel like it's your idea. I feel like you're taking someone else's idea and you're putting your zest on it. And I was producing early on in my career. So, and I just never got to see that through. And so in 2018, before I left, I started producing again. I made Be Happy Sometimes. I made Headlines. I made the song Rockstar that hasn't come out yet. It was just one of those ones that was so good at the time. I was like, I need to sit onto this one
mm-hmm,
and like see it. Like I don't think I have the knowledge yet to make it as good as it could be.
mm-hmm,
I'm Alright, I'm Good was a song I made around that time. A couple others, and so and when I started producing again, and I was like I was having so much fun. I felt like I was finding me again, because
mm,
I mean We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves was a good example of me going through primarily one producer who had a very similar sound, and I was like, let me prove I can make a bunch of hits. That's easy. I can write songs. That's nothing. And but there's something about producing and being responsible for the kick drum, for the hi-hat, being responsible for every single detail that is so much more fulfilling. And then once you're done with it, it's like you can actually hear what was in my head, like what I
mm-hmm.
wanted to happen. I didn't have to work around someone else's idea. And so that's why. Yeah, I think it was a great idea because
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say the production was the most important aspect of doing it on my own. It was making the SoundCloud, making the website, to get all your descriptions correct, to work on your feeds, your SEO, so that when people Google you, you come up first. To understand all these intricacies and these ideas, to distribute the music, to understand the publishing and the back end royalties, to understand taxes. There's so many things that are important that if you never have to acknowledge or think about those things, you
Mm-hmm.
don't appreciate the value and the work that goes into them. The YouTube channel, the visuals, to understanding what goes into that, to understand tags, to get more viewership. There's so many different things that I would say that that's probably even more important. Now I can tell you
Wow.
about, um, like I have a lot of artists who I won't name, coming up soon that like need help with a lot of these things, and I'm just grateful that I have the input to give them now because I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I had to figure it out. I had to do it all myself. I do literally every single thing, my cover arts, every single thing myself. And so I can explain how to use Illustrator now. I can explain how to
Yeah.
use Photoshop. I got this iPad specifically so that I could use my Apple
Yeah.
Pencil for my cover arts. You know what I'm saying?
I did nice
Yeah.
iPad, bro.
Yeah, no, dude, they're fire. I
Send little
like it more than
kits
my
to.
MacBook. If I could record music on this thing, I would never use my computer, I swear to God.
I feel that.
But the Apple Pencil so I could make my cover arts. I knew I
Sick.
wanted to stick with that. I made my entire tour thing. That was my handwriting. So that is what's important, is doing it myself. So not just with production, but with literally everything, bro, is what I'd say is important. But
Damn.
yeah, it makes
That's
me feel
cool.
like I've discovered myself again, which is important. I don't think producing is for everybody. Otherwise, everyone would do it. But for me, that was very much the most important part to me. So I'm glad that I got to finally see that through to fruition. Now I'm
Mm.
really confident, that I can make beats for someone else even.
So this is kind of I like to ask this question, but then I realized it's can be different than for every single person, depending on who they are and their situation. I'm just gonna say and kind of let you kind of answer how you see it.
Okay.
How does one make it as an independent artist in today's world?
They're just doing. I think the problem is that a lot of people are really good at manifesting or planning, but they're not very good at taking the second or third step. Just do it. That's it. I would say, because what people don't realize is it's going to take a really long time and a lot of hard work. That's the part that people discredit. I think it applies to any career that you're pursuing. Is that I'm sure that a lot of people want a specific answer. Like, I think I want to make music. How do I be like you? And I just started doing shit, bro. Like, I sucked so bad for so long. Do you know how many shows I did that no one came? And even the people that did were not interested or facing away from the stage? That's every show for the first 3 or 4 years. So,
Yeah.
as an independent artist, I was always writing in notebooks in school. I loved writing. I would write poetry, short stories. I was in a creative writing classes in high school. And then that eventually translated into learning how to write songs. And then once I learned how to write songs, I was like, I could buy a USB microphone. And when I bought the USB microphone, I started being able to record on the computer without anything else happening, record over other people's beats. I'd be like, almost reciting exactly what other artists are doing, trying to replicate, because that's like all that made sense. It's just practice. It's just putting in the work. It's just anything else. You kind of just have to do it to figure out what works and what doesn't. So I think the easiest answer is and it's not the answer or the attractive one, is that you just have to put in the work. And what you're going to realize is that 90 to 90, probably 5, if not more percent of the time, it's not going to work out. Maybe that wasn't it. I just think that, but it might work out in some other field, some other regard. I'm not worried about music failing at all. I don't want to do that forever. I am confident in my abilities to figure things out and do something else. Maybe in that realm even, I can help other artists. So, yeah, so independent artists, I don't think there's an attractive answer. Just work really hard. I think collaboration that you brought up earlier is a really smart thing to do, and it's something I wish I did more of in the beginning. Because then you're just a bunch of people with the same common goal or interests, and you never know who's going to actually succeed. But it's probably a good idea to establish a relationship with that person, would it not be?
Yeah.
You never know.
100%.
Just like when I email agents, only the big ones respond usually, like the most famous guys. And the reason why is because they don't want to be the guy that turned down somebody, and they also see the value in someone that's working hard, that might not realize what they have yet, but they know that they're not necessarily in a position to represent. But yeah, because I've reached out to agents and stuff forever, I'm at a very small level of success. I think most agents probably look and they're like, oh, there might be something there, but I'll check in later. But the really famous ones, those are the guys that are like, okay, he's emailed me, once a year or once a month for the past couple years, 3 years. And because I've done things like that, that's translated into more relationships where they've recommended or gotten me opportunities before.
Cool.
So hopefully that answered your question. I just think that that's not the attractive answer, basically, is that you just have to put the work in to find out for yourself. There's no easy answer. Go book shows. Find out who your local booking agency is. Find out venues around you that are doing shows. It's similar genres of music. Reach out to those venues. Ask if you can open for those artists. And if they say no, ask if there's any opportunities for you to put on your own event to prove that you'll actually bring people. Because at the end of the day, they just want to see that you can put money in their pockets. They don't care about the rest. That's what I did. And then eventually I got booked on bigger and bigger shows. And then just practice. Seriously. You have to invest in yourself. It doesn't cost a lot. Like, I even have a starter kit and all my YouTube descriptions and everything. If you want to get recording equipment, it's not that expensive to get started. I mean, you got a setup right now and you're doing a podcast. Like, I'm sure it didn't cost you a ton of money to pull that off. It's like, bro, you can do a whole podcast on your computer, your iPhone, if you want to nowadays. So, and you're doing it virtually. You're doing it online. Like, I'm guessing you don't have a full studio where you have to bring in these people. You did it intelligently. You did it smart. Do what makes sense, for what you have at your disposal. And then, that's basically the unattractive answer, but the most realistic answer.
So you kind of talked about, and kind of just do what everyone else does, like kind of in the beginning and kind of get everything together. But I'm curious on how, because I feel like there's just a lot of artists, and it sounds stupid, like there obviously there's a lot of artists, but there's a lot of like people with like the disposal and like the easy access to making music. Um, like, how do you stand out as an artist? Because
I
there's
just
so
being
many.
Well, the problem and the reason why most people don't is because they're too concerned about what everyone else is doing, so they want to sound like what's current or what's popular. But they're not recognizing that what's current, what's popular won't be in 3 to 6 months, usually. So if you're doing something that's already been done, it's already technically old news.
Mm-hmm.
So being true and genuine to yourself, once you let down those walls and be vulnerable and figure out
Mm-hmm.
who you are as a person, you will stand out just just because it's recognizable. It's the reason why I have any level of success whatsoever. My most popular song off my first project. So 17 was the first single, and so by default that did well, but Northside wasn't a single, and that still did crazy well. It's my
Mm-hmm.
number one stream song overseas. It is the song that I've developed a lot of connections that won't even come to light yet for a few months here, just because of the overseas reach. And that was the only song on that project that had sounded nothing like the rest, but it was the most genuine song because it was the
Mm-hmm.
most me of the entire project. And I think people they're just way too concerned about what's happening around
Mm-hmm.
them. And so just be you and tell your story. I only get inspired by, like you said, Luke Christopher is what you'd consider to be one of your favorite artists, if not your favorite artist. It's because he produces everything. He does everything himself. And it is so him. He's been doing
Yes.
that. If you look back on his mixtapes, he's been doing that. And his early comparisons were like Drake and stuff,
Yep.
obviously, because there was no one else that was singing and rapping, you know? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but Luke was making his beats too. And he's been doing that since the beginning of time. So just be true
Wow.
to yourself and don't just like, oh, I heard so and so on this beat, so I'm gonna go lease this beat too and do my rendition. It's fun to do remixes and stuff, that's fun, but you're acknowledging that it's not original, it's not you, right? You're doing a remix. You're doing what someone else already did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way to stand out and understand that you're probably gonna be a really long time before you stand out.
Yeah.
Email hell out of everybody. Contact every single YouTube channel that posts music, every single one. And when they don't respond, because they're not going to, don't let that deter you. Email them the next song, and then the next song, and then the next song. I know who Beta is. Like I recognize his name because I've seen enough remixes or things pop up on my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard his music yet. The thing is, I'm probably going to check him out after this because now I've had a conversation about it. But I'm aware of who he is because he's done that enough times to where his name's come up. I'm
Mm-hmm.
willing to bet, I haven't talked to him, but that he either reached out to these people or do these remixes in enough times, and then it probably developed into someone supporting him or a channel supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
And because one did, now another one is going to. That's I could be totally off base, but if I had to guess, that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For
just
sure.
have your name pop up. Make people aware of who you are. That's how you stand out.
Mm-hmm. Good, bro. Um, so your newest song, "Everything Sucks,"
Right.
just came out last. I think it's the
Really
15th.
positive record.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what's kind of? Can you just walk me through like kind of the meaning behind that one, where that one is kind of coming from?
So that was an idea I wrote in 2018.
Right.
Now, yeah, so I had that idea a long time ago. The homie Apollo has a song coming out called "Everything Sucks Too." Um, Not two, but as in comma two. But I had this idea and I showed it to him a long time ago, and then he's manifested and created his own take on the idea. And I was like, fuck it, I should drop mine too. But I kind of recreated mine. It's almost like a totally different song, to be honest with you. But that was an idea I had in 2018. I don't know how I come up with. It's so simple. It's like to me, I realize how it seems silly, or it's just a couple words. But when you put them together, for some reason, there's like a I want to click on that type of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was on a
Mm-hmm.
Mantra Beat who did most of We Should Just Enjoy Ourselves. So I kind of wanted that song to be almost an ode to that idea and that
Mm-hmm.
vibe. So that was essentially what I was going for when I made that. But I made it more current, new beat. I changed up a lot of the lyrics. It has some of the bass original melody. That's not actually on the album. It was going to be, but I'm just excited for people to hear like
Mm-hmm.
I think as a Luke Christopher fan, you'll probably appreciate my next three songs, my next three album songs. Like you can really the production shows a
Dope.
lot of really awesome ideas. So I think you'll probably appreciate them especially. But Everything Sucks, yeah. I didn't release a song today because Everything Sucks wasn't added to playlist because I dropped two parts
Mm-hmm.
this week as well. So they said they would add it to release radar today if I didn't release a new song. So
Hmm.
hopefully they do that with Everything Sucks. But yeah, that was kind of the. I mean, it just felt timely with everything that's
Hmm.
going on in the world.
I agree.
It's almost like satire. It's like making fun of the fact that everything's trash. But it's like I don't know, looking at it through a humorous light.
Hmm. Um, how often do you still talk to and work with like Apollo and Packy and all those guys?
I talked to Apollo. Like, if you were to look at, let me see.
Didn't did Apollo? When did
I
he
was
join the
looking at like my call
Spectators?
log, bro, and like it's literally all Apollo. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch. It's just because I don't know who those random numbers that call me were. I don't want to put them on blast. Actually, yeah, fuck them. Don't call me. But uh, I talk to Apollo honestly, bro, almost every day, probably. I don't communicate with Mo or Pac very frequently. I talked to Mo before tour, because I had to get some stuff for tour and stuff. They have like families. They have their own thing going on. Packy just dropped an album, but I know that like they're trying out a lot of. I think the Spectators Collective is now more of like an affiliation thing now, where they kind of disbanded the label, where they're just kind of using it as a marketing place for a lot of up and coming artists, opposed to just being a label environment for one or two.
Hmm.
So, but they have like families, man. Like I know that Mo has been like he has a full time job and stuff. Um,
Oh
I'm
wow.
really happy for him and his family. Yeah, he's been married. I think Pac's getting married. So, I mean, they're both. I think Pac's gonna be 30 if he's not already. Mo already is. Like, so they're just like a lot of other things going on. It sounds like in their personal lives. I
Mhm.
communicate with Paulo regularly though. Um, talk to
Cool.
Paulo literally every day, probably. He's just like a lemming, dude. He's like uh he's a goofball. He's just like a really
Right.
fun, charismatic, a lot of personality. He has every question ever that's never been asked. He has it.
Really.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a good relationship with Apollo for sure. I talk to him probably more than anybody. I would like
Wow.
to. I'm sure I'll be like, I want him to hear this one this week. I'm sure that'll happen, and it'll be like song 7. But I would like people to hear it in order because I follow a theme. Like Kid Quill is the homie. He had one of my favorite albums, Sunset
Mm,
Diner, recently.
bro.
From start to finish was so well done. Um, I he makes music similarly. You know, he works
Mhm.
with a team of people and he's very hands-on with every detail. But there's a theme for every song to the next, and I create kind of the same way. There's a reason why I say certain things in certain songs at certain moments. So it would make more sense to release it in order because I don't
Mhm.
want people to be like, oh, these are the 4 singles and then this is the album. It's not like that. It's like they're all a piece of the puzzle. So
Yeah,
yeah, Quill is fucking awesome, bro.
dude, he's up there with Luke Christopher. I'm not gonna lie. That whole album, I remember
Mhm.
I was sitting like just doing some homework. I just like started from the first song, bro. Just
Right.
put me in like a trance, bro.
I don't
It
think he's
was
dropped it yet, but his next
amazing.
single I have some production credits on. Um,
Really?
yeah, I think yeah, from what I know, it's gonna be the next one he drops. Um,
Okay.
that's a record I was working on, and then I passed it along to him, and he caught a great vibe to it, and I was like, hell yeah.
Mhm.
And then he took it to a whole bunch of different places. He brought in like he got some awesome guy to come in and play some keys on it, and a bunch of other
Mhm.
stuff. So I think his plan is to drop that next. I don't know if he has yet.
Oh man.
I haven't talked to him in a little bit here, but
Yeah. I think what I admire about him is like he kind of what you were talking about earlier can really take a vision for like a song or an
right,
album and can like really put it um into
yeah,
a song or into an album and just like really iterate what he's trying to say. Like that whole album, bro, is
he's
like
very visual. My
it's amazing, man. It's amazing.
yep.
Like thinking about it.
He put so
Uh,
much into that stuff, and it's crazy because we just
hmm.
live in a time where people, it's like a microwave generation where they don't appreciate it as much.
Hmm.
You know, they want the singles, they want
Yes,
something they can
bro.
digest real quickly and move on to the next one. And then he gives you this full project. And it sucks because doing it that way, people are just never going to appreciate it for what it is. Like on the mass level.
Yes, bro.
Hopefully, it's one of those things that in a year or two, people go back on and like, holy shit. And I think people in the industry he probably earned his respect tenfold. But yeah, it just sucks that we live in a generation where if he had released it by singles, opposed to the full album, it would have done better by default. And that bums me out. And he'd probably agree with that too, because it's like, wow, man, I want you to see the whole vision. I want you to see the whole story. I created this
Mm-hmm.
entire movie. That's what it is. I made a movie. Watch it. Don't just watch a part. Don't watch the clips. And yeah, I was like, that's probably, it was probably my favorite project I've heard in recent memory, at least from people, someone close to me, especially.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Have fun streaming. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll catch you later.
Thanks, brother.